I want to introduce Mamoletsane to you. She is our Deputy Country Director. Some of you have been on the Zooms before with her and have gotten to know her well. And perhaps for others, you may not know that May started with us August the 1st. She's doing a fabulous job. I keep telling her not to work herself to death. But she's running up and down all over the country trying to make sure our programs are executed with the highest quality and the greatest compassion. So this is meant to be an informal conversation. We have two of our team joining us as well, Palesa and one of the members of our Girl Force program, which will be explained to you because they've been very instrumental in the last few months. So let's start. Mamoletsane, can you give us a bit of an update on COVID in Lesotho right now? There's absolutely no news in our news feeds on Lesotho, so that would be helpful.
Thank you very much, Margaret, and thank you very much for everyone who has joined our Zoom call today, the final one for 2020. It's a pleasure to be here. I would just like to say that with COVID-19, there's been more challenges, I guess, for Lesotho. With all the countries, what we are trying to do is to test more, but the testing has really been low in our country. We've been having challenges with the testing reagents and everything, but we can't say that we have stopped testing. Right now, following the lockdowns and everything, the borders were closed, but with them having been opened, there is border testing for people that are going to South Africa, but also for those that are coming in. I think because it's going to the Christmas break, what they're trying to do is just to ensure that those that are coming can be able to test. And also because of porous borders, they think that those people that their permits are expired while on lockdown and everything in South Africa, they might use other places, and that would bring the infection back in our country. So I think that is another way that at least we could be able to say that we are able to test. The testing is really low, and this is mainly because I think the reagents are not ready, the lab is not ready. However, it doesn't mean that we don't see any impact of COVID-19 on us. The unemployment rate is very high. We see that there is a food insecurity, and of course, definitely the dramatic increase of gender-based violence. The good thing about it is the restrictions are beginning to ease a bit, and we are just about to start, the schools are about to open. First, it was just a few grades, but now I think the government has decided to go into having more and more classrooms are opening, and that could be a good thing for us. Yesterday in South Africa, the Minister of Health mentioned that they are going through a second wave. So as you might all know, that means that we are in trouble because we are landlocked by South Africa. Whatever happens in South Africa will definitely affect us. So we are, in as much as we may not be very well economically developed and everything, but we are really truly watching what is going on in South Africa and how we can best be able to do whatever we can to stop the infections are growing in our country.
And I would just like to mention that our other two guests are way up in the middle of Lesotho. They're very high in the mountains. They've been working in the field all day, and they're in hotel rooms, and they're trying to connect there. So if there's any trouble, the signal isn't very good there. So we're on an adventure, and hopefully we'll pull all this together. Over the last few weeks, we've been launching a major initiative to try and stop gender-based violence. Around the world, we're hearing more and more publicity about this, but it's always gone on. But this kind of isolation, this kind of economic frustration, so many men are unemployed, and everywhere gender-based violence is increasing. The specific factors in Lesotho are that people are genuinely isolated. A lot of our beneficiaries live very far away. So we have launched this big initiative called do the right thing, stop gender-based violence. And many of our donors have contributed financially to this, and I know that one of the reasons you're on this call is to hear how it's going. So May, could you tell us how the initiative is going, the components that it was rolled out?
I think maybe I should just start from saying that we had the gender-based violence baseline study in 2013, but even then the rate was at 86%. And we know that gender-based violence usually increases when there are emergencies. It doesn't matter what kind of emergencies, and COVID-19 has been a global pandemic and therefore a global emergency. Therefore, through the programs that we were running after the lockdown where restrictions were eased, we realized that there were a number of cases of young mothers being abused and young girls being abused. And we thought that it would be good to see how we can be able to engage other people. We didn't only want to let people to take action, but we also wanted to ensure that other people are able to demand action from others. With gender-based violence, sometimes people think it's not my responsibility, it's the other person's responsibility. But with this, we are saying from the household level, from the community level, we are all responsible and we should be able to hold each other accountable and say, let us do the right thing and stop gender-based violence. We have had a number of media platforms that we have used. We have used billboards. These billboards were having messages and we're having faces of the community members, trying to show that the community members are the ones saying, this is what we should be able to do. We have been able to have radio shows where the Girl Force members have been able to share with the communities, share with the nationals about gender-based violence, the programs they've been doing, and these radio programs have really gone well. We've had art, picture, story exhibitions at different places, showing the pictures of what is gender-based violence, how does it impact each one of us, and how can we be able, what are the things that we can be able to do to stop gender-based violence. And in all the activities that we have done, we have the t-shirts that have the theme, and we also have the buttons as the one that I'm wearing today. This is just to say that when somebody is, you are wearing the button and somebody is asking, what is this all about? Then you're able to give more information even when you're in the community. We have given out brochures. These brochures are talking about what is it that we can do as individuals and what is it that we can do together. How can we be able to support victims? How can our leaders be able to support everyone, victims of gender-based violence? And how can they also be able to hold everyone accountable to be responsible for gender-based violence? We also have a song composed by Dadesi Dimotabane. Dadesi Dimotabane is one of the Lesotho singers. He uses his music is a part of the Mangai. Mangai are songs that are usually sung by head boys or people at the initiation plus jazz. So we thought that that would bring in together the Lesotho kind of way of doing things. And with his song, also, he's just showing that gender-based violence affects everyone. And as a man, he is also saying that we should take more responsibility. We are going to have an essay competition and we phones. I think with the competition is not only to say who is going to win, but those that will be putting in their essays, they will have to research. And through the research, there's definitely something that they are going to be able to learn. And it's the learning that they have that will take them and be with them for a longer period of time. Having said this, I think maybe I should introduce Palesa Mepek. Palesa is our program officer for Girl Force, like you mentioned, initiative. The Girl Force initiative is an initiative to talk about and explain what Girl Force does, and also give a few examples of the impact that we have seen in this short period, or that we could see as we are moving forward with the gender-based violence plates. Palesa, over to you.
Thank you, Ma'am Mamoletsane, and greetings to everyone in this meeting. And Palesa, like you said, I'm very happy to be part of this meeting. So, Girl Force is an initiative of Help Lesotho that is youth-led, and it includes both boys and girls as a way of not leaving boys behind, because most of the times we find that we empower girls and we leave the boys behind. But with the Girl Force, we have the boys in this program. So its objective is to fight against child alien or forced marriage and gender-based violence in Lesotho through dramatic arts, that is the innovative dramas that we perform, the informative speeches, and also the poems and songs, the engaging songs that we do in various events, and also the gatherings. Girl Force has managed to do these gatherings across the country of Lesotho, with the most concentration being on the rural areas. In Lesotho, most of the rural areas, people in rural areas still believe that the harmful practices that they keep are the ones that are good. For instance, you find that when we make a performance in rural areas, and maybe you do a dialogue with the communities, asking them whether being beaten as a woman is good or not. Some will say, yes, if my husband does not beat me, it shows that he doesn't love me anymore. So this is whereby we see the harmful practices happening in our communities in a violent way. So we've seen that the Girl Force have been very active in this program, where they've done the radio shows, that is the calling for from the listeners, and also the TV broadcast. And the impact that we have seen from all these activities, the gatherings, events, TV shows, and also radio shows, people now want to talk more about the issues of gender-based violence, which was not the case before. You find that most people are being abused, especially women, but they do not have a platform where they could share, or they are not even allowed to talk about what they experience in their families, in different families. I'll make an example of a girl who expressed her story, or told her story during our outreaches, that she was once raped, and she couldn't tell the parents nor friends because she was shameful. It was something that she couldn't say to anyone. So with the Girl Force being engaged in doing these dramas, in the songs, doing the poems with communities, and also educating them more on their rights, the responsibilities that they can do as the whole community. People now want to talk about these issues of gender-based violence. Also, people are no longer turning a blind eye to violence. This one we have seen whereby some of the people who have, the audience we have performed before, come to our offices and to actually ask for advices in terms of some things happening in their villages, whereby this chief came to our offices asking whether, how can she go about the issue of her son married a 15-year-old son. So she said, a 15-year-old girl, she said she could not allow that kind of behavior in her home, because she has seen the performance from the Girl Force, and that she needed advice from our offices. So recently we have been involved with the GBBs, whereby we are inviting everyone in Lesotho to make noise and also do the right things to stop gender-based violence, as is one of the leading factors in Lesotho. So the Girl Force also had led this initiative by doing the exhibits in different districts, and in getting the views from the people or the audience. I will talk more on the impact that it has done to these people who have been, who the Girl Force have been talking to. You find that people are aware of these issues. They know, and also they are afraid to talk about these issues because of the stigma they will have in their communities, that, okay, now you have said something about me abusing my child, so you are regarded not as worthy to be trusted in this community. So having said that, I would like to introduce one of the Girl Force member, which is Abuti Matalole, who is here with us, who will tell us more about his experience in the Girl Force. Thank you, ma'am.
While we're waiting for Ndate, maybe I'll just describe a little more what the Girl Force do. There are, when we have a full component, there's about 25 young people, half girls, half boys. They're very carefully trained. They know all the laws pertaining to gender equity and gender-based violence by heart. They have dramas that depict these different kinds of activities, and then at the end of each drama, the players show how members of the community can take their responsibility to make a difference. We're opposed to the idea of putting all this responsibility onto girls, that they need to know their rights, they need to step up, they need to learn this, they need to do this. They're not the perpetrators, and we need to hold the community responsible. The community needs to hold itself responsible. The teachers have to stop abusing children. The old men have to stop taking advantage of these young girls who are so poverty stricken, they get married because, just for food, just to have someone who will give a roof over their heads. So all of these activities that we do are about highlighting the responsibility of other members of the society to collectively step up and combat this, so that the boys learn to put social pressure on their friends, that this isn't okay, that the chiefs learn to step up. We had one woman who was a participant in the drama, which is very powerful, very emotional. Some of you, I know, when I looked at the guest list of this Zoom, have actually seen this drama. It's very powerful, very emotional. And afterwards, she came back a couple of months and afterwards, and she said that because of that drama, she was no longer going to allow early and forced child marriage in her village. And to this day, that was a couple of years ago, she still hasn't. So it is a progressively trying to help the community step into this painful topic. Nobody likes to talk about it anywhere. And it is to provide strategies. So usually after the drama, there's a discussion with the community, and they process this, and different members of the community talk about what they could do, share strategies they can think of. And we have information that we hand out. And so this blitz is to magnify all of this. We want to, we've never done anything like this before. We raise the money to support this kind of very public, very overt, and very concentrated initiative. We're actually hoping that we get enough that we can do this maybe twice more this year, so that this becomes a normalized topic of conversation, number one. And number two, the idea of what should I be doing about it is permeating the media. And these Girl Force, the boys and the girls, are amazing. I asked one of them, the boys, how he felt about being part of an organization called Girl Force. And this very tall, very handsome 22-year-old young man said, Well, it was awkward at first, but it gives me an opportunity to talk about it. So it's very successful and very powerful. We've actually been invited into factories because there's a lot of abuse in factories. We've been invited to national events to perform. May, could you tell us some of the other places we've performed?
We have also performed at different communities where we are not even working at. We have been invited at institutes of higher learning because they also experience gender-based violence. We have performed at the National University of Lesotho, and some of the issues discussed, you can tell that they really get to the people. We have been able to perform at the Department of Leribe DA's office, where then people have been able to say, oh, so this is what is happening. So every little small opportunity that we get when there's a public gathering, we can be able to show just one show, and then we are able to ensure that there is discussions around that.
That's great. That is Semela.
All right.
Oh, Palesa
now again.
Oh, Palesa.
Yes, I'm okay now. I'm good, and you?
Good. We're so happy to see you. Thank you for persevering on these technical problems.
Welcome, welcome.
Good. So tell us about your experience with this GBV Blitz, the gender-based violence initiative that we've been doing.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Semela Matalole, aged 20. I am feeling proud to take this opportunity as a Msoto man, giving out my experience on women and girls. Joining Girl Force Corps, I had been a low self-esteem man that I couldn't even take any action to stop or even report women and girls violence. I had friends where we used to harass girls, blowing whistles and tempting their confidence and self-esteem. I now have, I am now grateful that I now have knowledge about gender-based violence against women and girls. And I play a very big part in being a good example in my community to stop gender-based violence against women and girls, and informing them about their roles and their human rights and responsibilities. I no longer abuse girls in my community, but I am protecting them in standing against gender-based violence. I am part of the change. I stand against gender-based violence, against what's going on.
It's okay, we can hear you. Do you feel your
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
do you feel your friends? Do you feel this initiative is making a difference in your friends and in the people you meet?
It's making a big difference in me because as I've told you before, I am a good example in my community. I would see them, one of my friends coming to me and talking about this gender-based violence, asking me some relevant questions. Then with the knowledge that I've got since I've joined Girl Force Corps, I am able to direct or resolve any matter related to gender-based violence.
It's so exciting. It's so exciting to hear. And I can see May Palesa looking on so proudly. These are her young people. And it's very exciting to have a youth-led initiative that is national. I'm so excited that the whole country can see what fine young people are able to stand up and run this huge, huge initiative. So we want you to tell everyone in the girl force, how proud we are of them, and to encourage them. It's not easy work to do. I know you're traveling all over the place. You're working so hard, and even the listeners, they're very proud of you.
My pleasure. That's my pleasure, ma'am.
Is there anything else you'd like to say before we pass it back?
Nothing much more than saying I'm feeling much motivated, ma'am, to be part of Girl Force, because I am now a leader. I am able to take my own, and most of the time, and yes, with the service in Girl Force, I am able to take good decisions that can take me to a better future.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
May, I know it's hard to say at this point, but have you seen that this initiative is making a difference from your perspective?
I think it is, Meh, and that Semela is the first impact we can talk about, because from what he says is with the information that they have gotten and the information that they have shared, we do see a number of, even from the radio programs, when we have radio programs, the people that call in, you can tell that the information that has been shared has really changed the way they think around these issues. So when we talk about social change, it should start at the individual level. And from there, it has to get to the household level. And from the first exhibition we had, we got a number of people asking if we could be going to their villages. I think there were two chiefs, one from Rote and another one from an area in Mohali's Hook, where they were just saying what you are sharing with us here, because it's youth to youth, it becomes even more important, and youth can be able to learn, because I think now with the youth having a different mindset, there's a lot that can change when it comes to gender-based violence. But also we're looking at the community level. When we have these people coming with some changed minds, we are sure, and definitely through the community discussions, especially that we have after the Girl Force dramas and the actions and shows that they do, we are sure that the discussions usually give out positive change. People are always ready to say, we see where we are getting it wrong, and this is the time for us to change. And change doesn't come only from one person. When it's a community change, then it means that the national change will be there. From the radio shows that we have been able to have, from the exhibition and information we have shared, maybe I should mention also that we've had the Domestic Violence Act of 2018. That is the law that can be able to ensure that gender-based violence perpetrators are able to put in justice. But without that law, there's not much that can be done. Also gender-based violence, because usually it happens in the family. People are usually just given to say, let's deal with it within the family. But when we have the law, then we have something that can be able to support the victims without necessarily feeling like they are getting out of the household, family setup to be able to discuss their issues. So I think from the comments we've had from the radio shows, from more people coming and calling to get more information, requesting for the youth-led initiative, the Girl Force members to go and perform in their communities, that shows that the message we are sharing is really going to change a lot of people's mindsets.
That is so exciting. And I know many of the people listening have paid for this initiative, and they'll be so happy to hear how well it's going. So happy to meet the people who are leading it, Palesa and Buji Semela. It's wonderful to see you. And I'm always happy to see your face, Palesa, and your beautiful smile. And we're still in this, we're still on this. Gender-based violence and gender equity has always been a major focus of Help Lesotho's work. So thank you all. And we're going to have some questions from the audience so that they can participate in this conversation. So Kate, would you be able to share some of the questions that have come forward?
Absolutely, gladly. So our first question is, how are you going to keep the momentum from this blitz going forward? Right, we know today is the official last day of the 16 Days of Activism campaign. Our blitz is going to continue until closer to Christmas time, but what's next? Maybe Mamoletsane, could you talk about that?
Okay, me. I think when we are dealing with an issue that's so deeply seated in our community, we can't just do it once. And we are hoping that we can be able to raise more money to be able not to do this over the 16 days, but let this be something that we can do once or 3 times a year, because that way we can be able to reach more people. And with more momentum, then it means that the change can be seen more effectively. But if we just do it once, then it's difficult. It's not easy doing such things. That is why I think raising more money can be able to help us achieve a lot and be able to talk about these issues on a regular basis so that we can see the momentous changes we continue.
And also this initiative has allowed us to reach beyond our normal program participant group. We normally have 15 to 16,000 people benefiting from our programs every year, but this is a very public initiative, which has given us a much greater scope to use the materials we have and to multiply the things that we normally do.
And I think also maybe just to add that with COVID also, the use of the media has really taken us even further, because usually we would be going to the areas, but now we've realized that there's another opportunity. And with radio, the national radio can reach all the 10 districts. We don't necessarily have to be there, but our voices and our messages are able to reach so many.
And for those of you who want to see some of the examples of what we're doing, our Facebook page has many, many examples of the billboards, the posters, the information that we're doing, and there's even some videos. So I hope that you'll do that. Kate?
And yes, that's Facebook and Twitter are both loaded with content right now. Palesa, a question that maybe you could answer. We actually have a few people who have wanted to know about what supports exist for victims of gender-based violence. What are their options?
Thank you, Mayor Kate, for the question. And recently, I'll recite an example that we had very recently of a woman who posted on our Girl Force Facebook inbox. She was saying that she heard of a girl who was married to a 44-year-old man when the girl she is only 17. And so May was asking what can she do in regard to the matter. Yes, and so ma'am mentioned that she saw as she heard about us on different radios, and so she wanted help on what she can do. And so we replied by asking the guiding questions that can lead her into making right decisions, into reporting or helping the victim that has been married to a 44-year-old while the woman was only 17. And so fortunately, days later, she responded to my question and said she made a follow-up to that matter, and she heard that the police had turned in the man to the station. And she was really grateful because she said through our programming through our girl force, she was able to want to do something with the matter of that girl who was married to the older man. And so while we are in the communities, this is what we mostly do. When a person says, I've been through violence, or I know someone who goes through the very same situation of violence, we try to guide this person into making right decisions in terms of wanting to report, in terms of opening up about violence. Why are we doing that? We are doing that because at the end of the day, we want people to make decisions that for themselves, not because girl force will be making decisions for people. However, we are guiding people to make good decisions so that they can end up talking about the violence that they've experienced, to report it everywhere, and also to open up, because the big issue of the victims not reporting violence is that some of them, they don't know what they can do. They are afraid to report the perpetrators, because you find that most of the time violence happens in our families. So if I report that I've been raped by my uncle, then the uncle may no longer provide for our family.
Poverty exasperates everything.
It does.
Mamoletsane, do you have anything you want to add to Palesa's answer about the options victims have?
Yes, I don't think the victims have much options, like Palesa had already mentioned. This is because usually when it happens at the household level, it's even more difficult. But we should know that Lesotho is it's one country with the same people of the same nation, same language, and we are like all families. So even if it happens in the community, we always think that our neighbor feels like a family member. So it becomes a challenge to see how we can be able to support their victims. But other than that, we also have really low justice system. For example, we don't have police in every community. So it becomes a longer period even to know how to report the cases. So there is no connect between, we understand that gender-based violence is bad. We understand we have to report, but where do you report? The best person you can report to is a family member that will tell you, not with that family, we cannot do that. So I think there's also need to ensure that all the essential services are there. Do we have clinics in all the communities? Do we have police in all the clinics? I mean, in all the communities, so that we can be able to bring everyone else together at the same time to ensure that we support the victims.
And I just want to highlight here that we have trained a lot of police people, and we would like to do more. It's very important that the police understand the victim's perspective, understands their responsibility, because they don't have a lot of support in executing their tasks with kindness and empathy for these young girls. Usually they're victimized 2 or 3 times, and the police make a deal with the family behind closed doors, and the men are never prosecuted. That's the norm.
Okay, thank you for sharing all of that. And it's clear that GBV is a very systemic issue in Lesotho, and that leads into this next question, which is, what are the main reasons that GBV is such a big problem for people in Lesotho? So, Mamoletsane, could you share with us on that?
Okay, May. I think the first reason would be the lack of policies and laws that guide and ensure that we are able to know where to go when there are issues of gender-based violence. Secondly is the issue of ignorance. I think Palesa in her talk, he talked about when she was presenting, she talked about how women, because of lack of education, they think that certain things are okay to happen. So that ignorance even exposes them more to gender-based violence. But further to that, we also have, on top of the education, you also have this traditional and cultural norms that are so normal and so okay to carry on, that for us to really stem them out of the communities, it becomes a challenge. So I think those would be the reasons, especially when we look at the communities we work with that are really in the rural areas. For example, when we are working with the head boys, one of the things that we show them is to understand the rights of women, because for them, a woman is somebody that they can be able to just pick and take and marry whenever they can be able to do that. And that is brought about by lack of education, and also because the traditional and cultural issues and norms that we have are so normalized.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Peg, did you want to add to that?
Well, I think our time is up.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got just a couple quick little ones.
Okay.
So a question for Palesa, very quickly. Kathleen would like to know how many different dramas Girl Force has. Not just related to the Blitz, but all the time. How many different ones do you do?
Thank you, Mayor. We have about 4, but mainly we do 3 because there's 3 ones portray mainly the main issues that happen in our communities.
Thank you very much. And final question actually has nothing to do with the Blitz, but is very seasonally appropriate. So, May Mamoletsane, could you just give us a quick snapshot of what is Christmas like in Lesotho, and how will you be celebrating?
Christmas is not going to be the same, May. First of all, because most people have lost their jobs. So most of the things that they used to be able to afford, they can't afford anymore. We also have Christmas is the time that we bring all our families, but with the COVID-19 and the second wave in South Africa, I think responsibility becomes key. So it's going to be a close family affairs for most people. And for those that cannot afford certain things, it becomes again a challenge. For us at the center, we are looking at how we can hold small parties for the little kids so that we can give them little presents so that they can go home and take something to brighten up their season. Not because it's going to be easy, but because we feel like if they have something small for Christmas, they can be able to appreciate. And when they get home, they can also be able to share with their families the happiness they have gone through the little parties we are going to have.
We're excited about those parties.
Yes.
Yes. I want you to know we have gender-based violence in Canada and all the other countries that are listening. It's a problem everywhere in the world. And it's really wonderful to know that the world is starting to pay attention. This has gone on forever, but the more of us who step up and speak out about this, the more women will be safe, and they'll be able to grow, mature in the manner to which they need to and they deserve to. So I want to thank everyone for listening. Like you, Bome, in Canada, our Christmas will be very different. We won't be with our families necessarily. We are pretty much closed down, and but we have a lot to be grateful for. We're healthy, and we all need to participate globally in this kind of responsibility. So please convey our thanks and support to all the staff. Say hi to those little children. We're looking forward to seeing the pictures on our social media of the kids. They haven't had much joy this year. It's been a really, really tough year. And so we're excited about that. We're excited about the last couple of events on this Blitz. And for example, I know one of the participants who's listening right now made a large contribution to this initiative. And I hope that this person is realizing what an impact that has made. We can all do something from our homes. We can all reach out to the people around us, and we can all do what we can to make this as positive, nourishing, compassionate Christmas, and maybe without so much stuff. We can remember that families are so important, and you are a Help Lesotho family. So thank you so much. And please let us know. There's lots of ways to send us messages if you want more questions on any of our programs or on this initiative. It's our pleasure to answer them. All the best. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah to those who are listening. Usasira manati. Olahante. Modimla fati.
God bless.
Thank you. Oh, look after yourself.
Thank you, man.
Nice to see you, Ndate.